Chapter 161, Go, before I change my mind. After resting for a while, Zhang took some stimulants from the dimensional space and gave them to Su Hao. In order to wake him up quickly, he splashed some ice water on his face. After a while, Su Hao finally opened his eyes, exhausted. Ugh, it's so cold. When Su Hao saw Zhang clearly, he froze for a moment, then his face was filled with ecstasy. Brother Zhang, you did it? He looked around, trying to find Wang Siming, but saw nothing. Zhang didn't say anything, and just untied the ropes on his body. Su Hao never expected that after taking a nap, he would wake up to find that he had captured Wang Siming's luxurious shelter. The easy victory made him extremely happy. However, he was very curious as to why Zhang woke up so quickly when both of them had been hit by the sleeping gas in the trap. Moreover, it seemed that he had taken over the shelter. Brother Zhang, where's Wang Siming? How are you going to deal with him? Su Hao asked curiously. Zhang said indifferently, have you forgotten? I am the urban warrior king, a master who came down from the mountains, a mercenary who returned from the battlefield. Dealing with a mere Wang Siming is no big deal. Su Hao laughed heartily. Ha ha. Brother, you are really amazing. I was right about you. From now on, I will follow you with all my heart. With you protecting me, I will never have to worry about survival again. Zhang picked up a heavy backpack from the sofa and placed it in front of Su Hao. These things are your reward. Take a look. Su Hao's eyes lit up, and he rubbed his hands together with a smile. I can't accept this. No need to be polite, you deserve it. Zhang said indifferently. Su Hao no longer held back. He hadn't eaten normal food in a long time. In front of Zhang he unzipped the backpack. Whoa! A large pile of food appeared before his eyes. Cookies, bread, chocolate bars, chicken legs, cream cakes, sliced cakes. The entire backpack was stuffed full, and it must have weighed at least 30 to 40 pounds. Su Hao was so excited that the corners of his mouth were almost reaching his ears. Brother Zhang, you're like my real brother. In the future, if you need me to do anything, just say the word, and I'll do it without hesitation. Su Hao grabbed a bag of chicken legs and tore open the packaging while expressing his loyalty to Zhang. After hearing this, a smile finally appeared on Zhang face. Oh? Those are your words. I'm not forcing you. He pointed outside with his chin, take these things and leave. Zhang couldn't possibly keep Su Hao. But his conscience wouldn't allow him to be ungrateful. No matter how much of a jerk Su Hao was, he had indeed helped him out in this matter. So Zhang decided to give him enough food and let him go out and fend for himself. Su Hao was tearing the chicken leg bag with the corner of his mouth when he heard these words and froze. Time seemed to stand still as he stared blankly at Zhang, his body stiff. Zhang calmly looked down at him, his eyes indifferent but containing an unyielding will. After a long while, Su Hao came to his senses. His heart was beating wildly, and he even had ringing in his ears, as if there was an electric current running through them. He couldn't accept this reality. He had successfully joined Zhang team and helped him obtain this luxurious and safe refuge. So why wouldn't he let him stay? Su Hao looked at Zhang, his eyes suddenly turning reddish. He looked at Zhang with pleading eyes and said, Brother Zhang, what did you just say? I didn't hear you clearly. He hoped that it was just his imagination. However, Zhang quickly repeated his words to him, you can't stay here. Take the reward I gave you and leave this place. As soon as Zhang finished speaking, 2 tears instantly flowed from the corners of Su Hao's eyes. He hugged the backpack in front of him, took 2 steps back in agitation, and curled up in the corner of the wall to feel safe. You promised to let me stay. You promised me with your own mouth. Zhang shook his head helplessly. It's true that I promised you. But I can deny it. We're all adults, we should understand that verbal agreements are the easiest to break. That's how it's always been, let alone now. Zhang was acting like a complete rogue. For his own safety, he was willing to abandon all moral principles. This behavior made Su Hao cry even harder. He curled up like a helpless child and shouted at Zhang Yi in grief and anger, "You can't do this to me. You can't go back on your word. I helped you so much, I don't want anything else from you, just protect me and let me live. Can't you even accept that? If you continue like this, you will end up alone, with no one to trust you or be by your side." After listening to him, Zhang Yi just smiled faintly, his expression contemptuous. "Oh, so what? At least I'm still alive. But if I lose my life because I'm soft-hearted, I'll have nothing left." He couldn't be bothered to argue with Su Hao because it was completely pointless. The two were not on the same level. Whatever he told Su Hao to do, Su Hao had to do. Zhang Yi waved his hand toward the door, "Go on. Save this food. It'll last you a month. Try to survive during this month. I've done everything I can for you." Su Hao shook his head frantically, "No, I won't go. It was too cold outside." Coming from the Yuelu neighborhood, the whole way was covered in snow and ice. Leaving here, it was only a matter of time before he died. After experiencing this warm and happy shelter, how could he leave? Zhang Yi smiled. Then he raised his gun. "Are you forcing me to do this? I hope we can part peacefully, instead of me pointing a gun at your head." Seeing Zhang Yi raise his gun, the fear on Su Hao's face grew even stronger. "I can't leave, you poison me." Zhang Yi's tone grew cold, "There's no poison. It's just a colored conventional drug. You won't die." Su Hao's face turned pale. He had been tricked by Zhang Yi. "Then you can't chase me away. You. How can you betray me?" He raised the backpack in his hand. "I helped you find a shelter, and this is all you give me? This isn't enough." Zhang Yi took a deep breath. His good temper was slowly wearing thin. He stared at Su Hao, his tone becoming emotionless. "But don't forget, you owe me your life." "What? No way. Of course you do. Back in the residential area, I should have killed you. But I didn't, so don't you owe me your life?" Zhang Yi said, "Now, I'm using your life and this bag of food as payment. You're getting a great deal." He pointed the gun at the door and opened it with the remote control in his left hand. "Hurry up and go. If you leave too late, I might change my mind." Chapter 162, I Gave You a Chance. Zhang Yi's eyes had turned cold, and he pointed the gun at Su Hao's forehead. The black muzzle reminded Su Hao of Zhang Yi's cold-blooded and ruthless killings. He knew that Zhang Yi wasn't joking with him. But he was frustrated and filled with hatred for Zhang Yi. The hatred in his eyes was particularly obvious, and his eyeballs were covered with red bloodshot veins. "Fine, I'll go." Su Hao gritted his teeth and walked towards the passageway with a look of reluctance on his face. As he left, he took another look at the luxurious decorations inside the shelter. Even in the past, he had never enjoyed such a luxurious living environment. A strong feeling of resentment blocked his chest, and he couldn't let it go. So when he reached the passageway, Su Hao suddenly turned back and glared at Zhang Yi, saying, "Zhang Yi, you don't keep your word. Sooner or later, you'll get what you deserve." Zhang Yi just glanced at him calmly. Su Hao chuckled and turned to walk into the passageway. Zhang Yi stared at his back for several seconds. After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Yi raised his pistol and aimed it at the back of Su Hao's head. Bang! A hole appeared in Su Hao's head, piercing through the back of his skull. He was instantly brain dead, without any pain, and collapsed limply in the passageway. Zhang Yi sighed and looked at Su Hao's body and said, "Anger won't make you strong. You need power." He walked over to Su Hao and picked up the backpack on his back. "I originally planned to let you live, but why did you choose to die?" In fact, Zhang Yi had been hesitating between killing him or not. Out of adherence to his true nature, Zhang Yi decided to let Su Hao go. It was Su Hao's last words that helped him change his mind. "I let you go, so I'm not ungrateful. We're even now. Who told you to threaten me afterwards? It was reasonable for me to kill you." Zhang Yi's logic was consistent, and he nodded with satisfaction. In Yunk Manor, Suhao was the only person who knew his identity. Moreover, Suhao also had a certain understanding of the internal structure of the shelter. Maybe one day, he would bring trouble to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was a little grateful to Suhao in his heart, because he gave Zhang Yi a reasonable reason to kill him. After killing him, Zhang Yi put Suhao's body into the dimensional space. Then he turned on the sound system in the room, which was worth more than 10 million yuan, and played a cheerful song. Mama, just killed a man. Put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun. But now I've gone and thrown it all away. Zhang Yi took a mop and a mop bucket from the bathroom and whistled cheerfully as he mopped up the blood on the floor. I hope this is the last time I kill someone. No one here knows my past, and no one will come to bother me. It would be great if I could live here until the end of the world, or until the day I die of old age. But that's probably difficult, right? Zhang Yi smiled and muttered to himself. Soon, he had cleaned up all the bloodstains on the floor. He was the only living person in the entire room, so it was exceptionally quiet. The house was too big, which made it a little boring. Let's go back and bring Kyrier. A mature man always needs a beautiful woman by his side. That's what makes life interesting. As for Uncle Yu. When it came to Uncle Yu, Zhang Yi had other ideas. This shelter was large and had many houses, but Zhang Yi wasn't very keen on letting Uncle Yu move in. After all, he and Zhou Qir were still in their honeymoon period, and he wanted to have some space for the two of them. She was always coming up with new ways to surprise Zhang Yi, and having outsiders in the house would affect her performance. For example, wearing a white shirt or an apron with nothing else on. With another man in the house, the two of them wouldn't be able to do their thing. Anyway, I already have a better shelter, so let's leave that safe house for Uncle Yu to live in. First of all, he saved me from a bullet, so I owe him a favor. Giving him a good place to live is a way to repay him. Secondly, there's no good way to put the safe house into dimensional space for the time being. It's better to leave it in the Yuelu neighborhood as a backup base. If I need it in the future, I can always go back to live there. Then I'll need someone to stay behind and watch over it. Zhang Yi had it all figured out in his mind. This way, everything would be perfectly resolved. Uncle Yu would surely be very grateful to him. There was just one problem he still had to help Uncle Yu solve. That was something that all men understand. Zhang Yi and Uncle Yu were both men with normal physiological needs. One was in his 20s and the other was in his 40s, and they were both physically strong, so naturally they had physical and psychological needs. Zhang Yi killed Xiaolime and wanted to make it up to Uncle Yu by finding him a woman. I promised Uncle Yu that I would find him a better one. But there aren't many women left in the community, and even fewer who meet the criteria. It's a bit difficult to solve. Never mind, let's take it slow and see what happens. If it really doesn't work, let him find a few women in the neighborhood to live with. It'll do for now. With limited options, sometimes you can't be too picky. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa in front of a 100-inch TV. He was curious about what Wang Ximing usually watched, so he found the remote control and turned on the TV. The black screen slowly lit up. Zhang Yi walked to the bar, which was filled with all kinds of famous brand-name alcoholic beverages, many of which he had never even heard of, all specially supplied by foreign wineries. Zhang Yi poured himself a glass of fresh beer and watched TV while drinking. He thought he would only see the few official channels that remained, but to his surprise, a white female host appeared on the screen. Blah, blah, blah. Well, Zhang Yi admitted that his English was limited to the CET6 level, and his spoken English was even worse. He couldn't understand a word of what was being said. Strange, how did we get a foreign channel? Logically speaking, the blizzard should have affected the signal transmission, and the range of signals that mobile phones can receive is limited. How did he do it? Zhang Yi walked to the TV with some surprise, then picked up the remote control to change the channel. After switching, it was still a foreign channel. He kept switching and saw dozens of foreign channels. Zhang Yi thought about it for a moment and suddenly understood what was going on. There must be a super powerful network system in this shelter. Zhang Yi took a sip of wine, then turned to the control panel to check. Following the lines, he found the clue. There was a hidden door in the control room, and when he opened it, he saw a separate server the size of a wardrobe. You actually installed a server in your own home, you're really something. Zhang Yi couldn't help but smile, and his eyes gradually lit up. Although he didn't understand how it was done, he could tell from the signal he received that the network system inside this shelter was extremely powerful. The signal transmission capacity was even global. This meant that Zhang Yi could obtain information from all over the world through the network. Chapter 163, Sweetness. As expected of a shelter that cost $1 billion to build, everything inside was still world-class even 10 years later. With this series of network facilities, Zhang Yi was able to obtain information from the outside world more accurately. After all, the major domestic news stations only reported entertainment news every day, even though they treated it as serious news. Zhang Yi sat down in his chair and began browsing the international internet for more information. Currently, the information he could obtain was limited to Tianhai City, so he was very curious about the outside world. After browsing for a while, he found that the situation was basically as he had expected. The extreme cold had caused the death of most living creatures. The lack of information and intelligence made it impossible to determine the exact number of deaths worldwide. However, according to mathematical models from the Hopkins University Underground Laboratory, only about 2 billion people remained of the world's 8.5 billion population. In just 1 month, nearly 3/4 of the population was wiped out. It will be difficult for even 5% to survive, exclaimed Zhang Yi. But even in such an environment, humans still had to fight and kill each other while trying to withstand the bitter cold. Extreme cold has brought all production activities to a standstill. There is no way to grow food or extract resources. This has made food and energy the most scarce and limited resources on the planet. Wars have erupted everywhere over these resources. From conflicts between individuals to wars between small nations. Food and energy remain the two most valuable things in this post-apocalyptic world. At least I don't lack them. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, extremely grateful that he was well prepared. He continued browsing the web and suddenly saw news about mutants. Mutants was the name used by a mysterious website in the United States to refer to those who had undergone mutations. It originated from a comic book series that had been extremely popular in the past. Zhang Yi immediately sat up straight. This was the kind of information he was desperate to obtain. Due to his own mutation, he had gained supernatural abilities related to space. However, he knew very little about mutations. Through searching the internet, Zhang Yi obtained a large amount of information about mutants from abroad. First of all, biological mutations exist widely throughout the world. So far, hundreds of countries have discovered mutated individuals. These include not only humans, but also mutated animals, insects, and plants. The direction of mutation can be good or bad. Some organisms have undergone positive mutations and gained extraordinary abilities. Zhang Yi saw a girl in the icy snow of the Rakshasa bear, who opened her right hand and created a ball of flame out of thin air. However, the flame only lasted for 2 seconds before it went out, and the girl fainted. At this temperature, awakening supernatural powers of fire is, to be honest, a bit miserable. Zhang Yi exclaimed boredly. Then, he saw pictures of other mutants on the internet. Some people's bodies had become huge and twisted, covered in an ugly zombie green color, somewhat resembling the Hulk in comics. However, their bodies had even lost their human form, looking extremely strange. Some mutants exhibited bodily disintegration, able to detach parts of their bodies while maintaining their vitality. There weren't many images online, and some mutants were only known through rumors. The ones mentioned above could barely be considered positive mutations, representing biological evolution. However, there were also tragic cases where individuals were directly destroyed by the gamma-ray radiation. Not only did they not gain powerful abilities, but they were twisted beyond recognition. It was somewhat similar to creatures that had been exposed to strong nuclear radiation. Zhang Yi carefully read all the information he could find and silently memorized it. So far, the number of mutants that had appeared worldwide was not large, but there were definitely others like him who were hiding their abilities. This meant that the outside world was still very dangerous. Zhang Yi was even more determined to stay in the shelter. "I'll go back first and pick up Kier." Zhang Yi shut down the computer, got up, organized his equipment, and planned to return to the Uelu neighborhood to pick up Zhou Kier. Over time, he had grown accustomed to Zhou Kier's company. Having a beautiful and sensible woman to live with made life less boring. Zhang Yi finished preparing all his equipment, then opened the heavy metal door of the shelter. When he opened the door, the futuristic shape and sound of it were truly fascinating. Zhang Yi came outside with his gun in his hand. There were several sets of footprints on the ground, which must have been left by the 3 call girls. It was freezing cold, and they were dressed in simple clothes. Even if they found a place to hide, they wouldn't be able to survive for long. "Am I wasting my time?" Zhang Yi exclaimed. It had to be said that the high-class women in Tianhai City, the so-called socialites, were really high quality. They were no worse than some movie stars. Zhang Yi had promised Uncle Yu that he would find him a few women who were good at their job to help him relieve his loneliness. At first, he had actually considered giving these women to Uncle Yu. However, after thinking it over, he finally dismissed the idea. After all, women like this were too manipulative and would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. If they seduced Uncle Yu one day, it would likely cause big trouble for Zhang Yi. Forget it, what's there to regret? There will always be more suitable women. Zhang Yi said as he walked outside. He didn't plan on taking out the snowmobile here. After all, snowmobiles were rare in the South, and others might recognize him and know his identity. Just as he was walking near Villa 204, he suddenly heard a woman's voice. "Please wait." Zhang Yi paused slightly. He stopped because the voice sounded familiar. He felt like he had heard it somewhere before, and it was the kind of voice he heard often. "Wait a minute." "Wait for what?" "Wait for her husband." Zhang Yi remembered that this was a classic movie line that had once swept the internet, and he would review it from time to time. He looked toward the source of the voice and put his finger on the trigger. At the door of Villa 204, a figure wrapped in a black down jacket appeared. Seeing Zhang Yi looking at her, she moved towards him happily. "Please wait, I have something to say to you." Hearing that milky voice, Zhang Yi was completely sure who the person in front of him was. His eyes revealed a look of surprise and delight. "Are you Yang Xia?" Chapter 164, Take a Shower First. The woman in front of him, wearing a long black down jacket, walked breathlessly up to Zhang Yi. She pulled away her scarf, revealing a fair, delicate, bulletproof face. Zhang Yi recognized her. There were probably very few netizens in Huaxiu who didn't know her. She was the hottest young actress in recent years, the woman countless men desired most in their dreams, Ms. Yang Xia. According to Su Hao, the residents of Yunk Manor were either rich or powerful, including the top stars in the entertainment industry. Ms. Yang naturally had the means to buy a house here. When Zhang Yi saw her, his heart skipped a beat. He didn't have the habit of chasing stars, but as a physically normal man, he naturally found beautiful female celebrities attractive. Especially those with long legs and large breasts were irresistible to him. So it was no surprise that he had been infatuated with Miss Yang for a long time. How much did he like her? Let's put it this way, countless lonely nights were incomplete without her company. His hard drive was filled with high-tech content about her, including A&I files. Although she was a few years older than Zhang Yi and a divorced woman, this was not a negative point for Zhang Yi, but rather made her even more attractive. When Ms. Yang saw Zhang Yi, her big eyes revealed her helplessness, and she said timidly, "I haven't eaten in 3 days. Can you take me away? I don't want to die here." Her eyes were like hooks that could pull out a man's soul. As an actress, although her acting skills were widely criticized, she was skilled at seducing men. This time, she took the initiative to come out, hoping to take a gamble and use her beauty to gain a chance to live. Zhang Yi looked at her and didn't say anything. To be honest, he was quite tempted. After all, she was a female celebrity he liked, and now she was offering herself to him. Who wouldn't want to spar with her in real life? Wouldn't you? But Zhang Yi still had to consider safety. He frowned. In the current situation, everyone is having a hard time. If you want me to take you away, you need to give me a good reason. Ms. Yang bit her lips slightly, a gesture that was both innocent and seductive. Her pink lips were crystal clear, and he wondered if it would be difficult to eat with such a small mouth. This woman was truly born to be seductive. Someone once said that among the 4 young actresses of Huaxiu, Ms. Yang might not be the most beautiful. But she was definitely the one who could arouse men's fantasies the most. Perhaps influenced by the aura of stardom, Zhang Yi felt that she was now helpless and pitiful, and that her vulnerability made her even more attractive. Ms. Yang took a step forward and looked at Zhang Yi with rabbit-like eyes, saying in a soft voice, "I just want a bite to eat. As long as you give it to me, I'll agree to any condition. I want 1 bite to eat." Looking at her pink cherry lips, Zhang Yi didn't know how to refuse. She was straightforward and direct. She acted pitiful, like a weak little white rabbit. No, a big white rabbit. But she didn't hesitate at all when Zhang Yi made his suggestive request. Compared to a female doctor like Zhou Qi, she was more mature in her thinking. No wonder she could start her own film and television company, being both an artist and a boss. Zhang Yi knew that she was not as easy to bully as she appeared on the surface. Huh? The difference between her appearance and her personality? He felt even more attracted to her. Zhang Yi said to her, "Come with me." He turned around and abandoned the idea of going back to Yuelu neighborhood to pick up Zhou Qi. After all, there were still a lot of supplies left for them, so there was no rush to go back. Seeing this, Ms. Yang breathed a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, her charm was still intact. Fortunately, this was a young and impetuous man. Ms. Yang followed Zhang Yi step by step to Young Manor 101. She looked at the villa in front of her with some surprise. "Isn't this Wang Ximing's house?" Zhang Yi smiled slightly. "This is my home now." With that, he took out his magnetic card key and opened the door. Ms. Yang was full of curiosity and followed Zhang Yi into the room. The temperature in the room was 27 degrees, very warm and pleasant. Soon, Ms. Yang felt unbearably hot and quickly took off her thick clothes. Zhang Yi didn't hesitate and skillfully took off his winter clothes. Ms. Yang took off several outer garments, revealing her body tightly wrapped in a black sweater. Her delicate, palm-sized face was like a porcelain doll, but her figure was so seductive that it made one's nose bleed. Especially her proud chest, which almost tore the sweater apart. Zhou Qi's breasts were already large enough, measuring 36D. But Ms. Yang's chest was visually larger than Zhou Qi's, at least 39D. Zhang Yi remembered that she wasn't at this level when she first debuted, but perhaps she had made great progress after getting married. Moreover, she was less than 5 feet 3 inches tall, and her petite figure paired with her astonishing size made her even more stunning. Her 2 slender calves were not as well trained as Zhou Qi's, but were a little soft, seeming easy to grasp. Her small feet in black socks were even more petite, no more than size 34. Zhang Yi glanced at his large palm, which could easily cover one of her feet. No wonder the literati and scholars of ancient times loved women with small feet. Imagine her shy face as she stretches her small feet towards you, and then you grab them in your hands. Zhang Yi's back teeth were almost grinding together. This woman is doomed to be his own nemesis. Ms. Yang felt Zhang Yi's unabashed gaze and bit her lip lightly. How could she not know what the man in front of her was thinking? But she also knew that since she had chosen to use her beauty to seek the protection of a man, she couldn't pretend to be reserved. She calmly walked over and sat down opposite Zhang Yi. Even though she was wearing a black sweater and long pants, with such a good figure, wearing clothes was actually more revealing than not wearing any. "Thank you for letting me in," she said softly in a cute voice. what is your relationship with the owner of this place? She asked cautiously. Mr. Yang and Wang Siming naturally knew each other. But now she hadn't seen Wang Siming, and instead Zhang Yi was acting like the master of the house, which took her by surprise. Zhang Yi didn't answer her question. He asked in return, "Are you familiar with Wang Siming?" Mr. Yang nodded slightly. "In our circle, how many people aren't familiar with him?" "Oh, so you're all good friends?" Zhang Yi smiled amusedly. Ms. Yang quickly denied it. "Not really. He's just a famous person with a rich family. So we run into him at events sometimes." She said somewhat sarcastically, "A rich kid like him wouldn't really take us celebrities seriously." Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows, poured her a glass of water, and handed it to her. "Then don't worry about him. Just remember, I'm the owner of this place now." Zhang Yi wasn't afraid that his killing of Wang Siming would be exposed. After all, real big shots wouldn't hide in the sanctuary of their own homes. In the end of the world, billionaires and socialites were as worthless as grass. "Thanks." Ms. Yang took the water and took a sip. After entering the room, as her body temperature slowly rose, an unbearable itch began to appear. After all, she hadn't taken a shower in a while. Ms. Yang's small feet, clad in black socks, fidgeted on the floor, then she made a request. "Can I use the bathroom here?" Zhang Yi generously pointed toward the bathroom. "Please, help yourself." Ms. Yang thanked him politely, then turned and walked toward the bathroom. After she closed the door behind her, Zhang Yi silently picked up the remote control and turned on the 100-inch TV on the wall. Chapter 165, Don't Come In. Who would install surveillance cameras in the bathroom? If this person is poor, we usually call him a pervert. If this person is rich, we call it the whims of a playboy, the fancy of the rich. As a famous womanizer, Wang Siming is definitely outstanding in this regard. So he installed a waterproof camera in his bathroom. Zhang Yi was a very polite person. So he didn't ask Yang Xia to take off her clothes and let him check her after she came in. But for safety's sake, even though he was extremely reluctant to do so, he still had to take a careful look with his own eyes to make sure there were no safety hazards on Yang Xia's body. Zhang Yi turned on the TV and turned down the volume. In the camera's view, Yang Xia had just unhooked her bra and removed the thing that had restrained her for so long. The raging beast was released. She let out a long breath. Zhang Yi couldn't help but take out a bag of potato chips and eat them while watching intently. In the bathroom, Yang Xia had no idea that every one of her movements was being watched by a certain upright gentleman. The camera had a 500-megapixel resolution, capable of capturing every detail even from 3 miles away. She ran her hands down her curved hips, shedding the last remnants of coverage, then lifted her right foot to remove it from her leg and place it in the basket beside her. The bathroom was very spacious, more than 80 square meters, and the huge gold-plated jacuzzi in the middle was like a fish pond. She stood under the shower and rinsed her body with hot water. She hadn't taken a shower in a long time and felt unbearably itchy all over. Especially when she entered the warm environment, it felt like there were little bugs crawling on her. So she had to clean every inch of her body. The hot water wet her beautiful hair, and she tilted her head back to rinse her face. It was comfortable and warm, but she was also thinking about what to do next. When she saw Zhang Yi appear in this neighborhood, she decided to take a gamble in her desperate situation. The only price she could pay was her body, which had captivated countless men. But after seeing Zhang Yi, she felt much more relaxed. Although the man in front of her looked dangerous, he was handsome and tall, not an ugly old man. This made Yang Xia feel much more at ease. If it's this man, even if I have to accompany him for a while, maybe it won't be such a loss. A helpless smile appeared on Yang Xia's lips. If she had a choice, she would rather not have to do this. Although she was in the entertainment industry, she was not one of those bitches who used hidden rules to get ahead. The Yang family was quite influential in the capital and had a strong family background. She had relied entirely on her own abilities and family background to get to where she was today. Even though she had been married once, she was still pure in body and spirit. This is just a deal, she muttered to herself. She caressed her proud body with both hands. "I just need someone to protect me, give me food and a comfortable place to live. After the snowstorm is over, I'll draw a clear line between us." Yang Xie said softly, her eyes becoming determined. In the living room, Zhang Yi heard her mutterings clearly. He feasted his eyes while eating snacks. As the saying goes, beauty is delicious, and looking at the beautiful scenery, his appetite improved considerably. She's a smart woman, that's good. Zhang Yi hated stupid women because most of them were self-righteous and annoying. Smart women like Yang Xie knew how to use their bodies to make deals in exchange for survival, which made things much easier for Zhang Yi. This way, he didn't have to bother with fake feelings. All he needed was to satisfy his fantasies about the goddess of his dreams with her. And to add a little more life to this empty house. Yang Xie and Zhou Qi were both intelligent and beautiful. With them around, Zhang Yi's life would obviously not be boring. Even if he wanted to play cards, he could get 3 people together. It was a very fair deal. Zhang Yi really liked this. When he was with Zhou Qi, he still had to take care of her girlish heart from time to time and shower her with sweet words. Look at this one, Yang Xie is so clear-headed. Everyone was getting what they wanted, which was very convenient. However, there was one thing she was probably still too naive about. You're going to leave after the snowstorm is over, right? Zhang Yi smiled and shook his head. Let's not talk about whether this long snowstorm will ever end. Even if the ice age is over, do you think the world will return to the way it was? It didn't matter. Even if one day Yang Xie really wanted to leave, Zhang Yi would at most miss the happy times they had together. There were plenty of obedient and sensible girls out there, and he wouldn't dwell on anyone's departure. In the end of the world, he just wanted to live for today. Now that he understood Yang Xie's thoughts, Zhang Yi no longer wasted time cultivating feelings. He stood up and walked towards the bathroom. He reached out and pulled the door handle, but it was locked from the inside. Zhang Yi calmly took out his magnetic card, which gave him the highest authority in the shelter and could open any door. Beep! The bathroom door opened. Yang Xie was taking a shower inside. Through the frosted glass, Zhang Yi could see her curvaceous S-shaped figure. Especially her pair of towering breasts, which were simply outrageous. Yang Xie noticed Zhang Yi coming in, covered her chest and screamed. "Ah! You! How did you get in?" "I'm still taking a shower." Zhang Yi laughed. I know. But you can't reach your back by yourself, can you? Come, let me help you wash your back." "No, I can do it myself." Yang Xie bit her lip. Although she was mentally prepared, she still couldn't help but feel a little nervous. What's more, she understood what men liked. High-end hunters always appear in the form of prey. If Zhang Yi hadn't heard her talking to herself through the surveillance camera, he might have felt a little embarrassed at this moment. But after understanding Yang Xie's thoughts, he had no reservations. It's okay, don't be so polite. I really like helping others," Zhang Yi said as he opened the door and walked in. Then the sound of water and soft cries merged into one, and then turned into deep panting. Yang Xie wanted to resist but welcomed him, pretending to be weak and powerless. Although he knew she was acting, Zhang Yi was clearly even more motivated. After a long time, the sound of water in the bathroom slowly stopped.